This conference will now be recorded.
Stands one nation.
I got indivisible, liberty, and justice for all. Test, test, test.
Let's do a mic check, please. Thank you.
1, 2.
Hello.
Good. No.
3, 4.
Testing.
All right, we're good except for Dr. McLaughlin.
On here.
Tested, tested.
Gotcha.
Okay, is there any public comment? Okay, sir, go ahead. Should I read this till we,
Sure, sir, if you want. Yep.
before you start, public comment will be limited to 3 minutes and may not be answered by a supervisor or staff member. However, all public comments will be captured for the record and the general manager will address your issue concerns after the meeting within 72 hours. Okay, sir.
My comment is about development and particularly the commercial development along Granada Boulevard. Quickly, I have a handout here that I'll leave for the board and for the board only. I bought here 6 years ago. I was told that it was a residential area. It has become a commercial area. This will explain where the commercial area it is. What I take offense to is the commercial marijuana dispensary that has been opened up on Granada Boulevard. It's been brought to the attention of the various law enforcement agencies such as SOU, and therefore, instead of me reading this and putting it onto the record here, if I may just drop it off, then I would prefer to just do that and end up my comments.
That's fine, sir.
Could you state your name, please?
Edward Hummel, 5508 Granada Boulevard.
Thank you, sir. Any other public comment? Okay, action agenda discussion of the 5, 10, 15-year strategic plan.
Thank you.
Okay, morning. This is we're kind of following the same format that we did last year with the first meeting as a board to the staff as you provide some guidance to set the stage here. There's some products that are available, just obviously board as well as residents. You have the 2-3-page budget guidance that staff gets from the general manager. You obviously have the agenda talking the big topics for today. And then what I'm calling is the packet of just data. It's really just raw data. Everything from a district's vision, mission, our capital improvement plan, products from strategic planning. And it's really just to generate discussion because the intent of this first meeting is to receive either collective guidance or even individual guidance from supervisors if there's an initiative, a project that they would like to see that we build you data on as the budget process progresses. In the June and July timeframe is where we will have the fidelity of departmental budgets by line items that you guys will be provided in all your board packets. And then we can discuss very specifics, but to put a lot of energy into those now without getting specific guidance would be a wasted endeavor. So Just a refresher, the mission of the district, no change in guidance from previous iterations of the board. We're still a self-governing, we're financially sound community. We provide protection, general government services, and recreational facilities for its residents, all residents. Our district values, again, hometown feel, premier services. That's no change there. We have organizational values. We have goals. Our goals they could change. They really are the same as last year because we're still in the throes of a lot of those initiatives there. The wastewater plant, quality staff build, recreational enhancements, and so on. So we left it all the same there. But those will drive actions, initiatives, spending as the years go on. And we always tie them back to our values. So what you'll see in the packet, the budget document from last year, is once we finalize the packet, the budget for the year, then I provide to the board as well as citizens, tied to our values, tied to our strategic goals, this is where we're spending money. Because if it's not tied to anything and it's just flippant, then it's not really should be in the budget. We should tie it to something. Because that's the goal or the value in our district. Yes, sir.
That line there in the top strategic goals addressed by 150 per wastewater bill.
It is now 180. Yes, sir.
180.
Yeah. That's when we did the beginning of the year. That was the number. We refined that to 180. I'm saying this is a snapshot from last year's budget cycle last summer. So this is before we finalized the 180. Yes, sir. Okay, so this gets updated as we continue this process. This is an eye chart. That's why you have a packet in your hand. This is how we look at strategic planning in a 10-year window for the district. We tie it to finances. We tie it to how much money our entities will generate. We also tie it to the expenses that we forecast based on inflation or projects, capital projects. And then at the very bottom, and actually payroll's in there, and at the very bottom, you'll see some of the initiatives. That's those colored bars that we plan to do over the years, over the 10-year window. And these could shift left and right. And that's just highlights some of the big projects, definitely not all the projects. So that's just a way to visualize it. Because this is also, we obviously, 2024, the numbers in red are what was the actual when we closed the year out. So as you see, we had a forecasted plan, because it's always good to have a plan. And for the majority of our initiatives, when the year closed out in September of last year, we were ahead of that plan in some areas. In some areas, we were right on mark. Some areas, we spent more, but because we tapped into our reserves and so on. So that's just how we can gauge our progress so we don't lose this in time as we move forward each year. This changes on board guidance, changes on staff recommendations to the board. And these things could come and go very quickly. So, okay. To summarize it in just words. So the reality that we look at, the county uses a 30-year planning and the state of Florida requires a 30-year plan. It's called the comprehensive plan. County's actually updating theirs now. We're part of that update because what was done 15 years ago did not really take anything into consideration for Sun Lake. It was written by other folks not being Sun Lake residents, and we are now living some of the repercussions of that when it comes to building codes and enforcement and so on. So we're going to be more active, and we are more active this year. We had a session here to help shape that discussion. So when I look at that product and I look at how we've had now 2 years of discussions with myself and the team here, these are the big muscle moves in the 1 to 5 year window. And we're using this as a talking point because if any of these are a concern of our residents, a concern of our board, and they either need to be upgraded, taken off, stricken, we're fine. Just tell us now because there's some energy being moved to plan for these things. So these are pretty simple ones. And some of these are going to happen over the summer. Some of these are happening in lifetime right now. Some are truly 5 years out, like the wastewater plant and so on. So pretty simple stuff. I'll just hit on the ones that we haven't talked about. Our goal is that in the next 5 years, we will be going to 14,000 population. And we're doing that based on development. We're doing that based on people moving here. That's continuous. even in these, we're hearing, you all read papers, you all see news, our coasts are starting to suffer with housing, not shortages, just overhousing, too much housing market. And those houses are being left on the market. People are leaving the coasts, both coasts, and they're coming internal or leaving the state. We haven't seen that. We gauge it because we see how people are building. We see how people are signing up for utility counts. That is a constant. That is a constant that has not dwindled. And we'll monitor that, and I'll provide that information. So our population is going to grow. That obviously drives new homes. We forecast in the next 5 years there will be 1,000 new homes in Sun and Lake, across Sun and Lake. The standing communities will be totally built out in 5 years, more than likely. Old Sun and Lake, Manor Hill, they're the first to go. And then we will start seeing that migration into the Cortez West area. So those are big things. We're going to continue the elimination of our asbestos lines in the next 5 years. We should be done the asbestos lines in 5 years. Every year we're addressing 20% or so of the asbestos lines. So 5-year window, we should be totally complete. And most of that, in fact, all of that is all Old Sun and Lake. Everything from Frontage Road back to actually here, Granada and Caballero. So we're going to continue that, and that's in our budget. We forecast there's going to be, because of resident growth, there's going to be staff growth. I look at that when I lay out with our departments, give them kind of there's a red line that I don't foresee more than 8 or so staffers coming on deck with that amount of population. Additional rec attendants, additional staff, roads and maintenance type folks. So we kind of have an idea on that. That also goes with what we expect our revenue to growth as well as our expenditures to grow. We are playing catch up now when it comes to our buildings maintenance plan. And right now we've corrected that by building a reserve budget for it. We're doing that by continuous maintenance on our buildings. We did new roofing, we got new paint and so on. So we just need to more formalize that. So every 5-year window, there's a $2 to $3 million investment into the district across all the district structures. That's just out of necessity. We don't want them all to degrade. That's everything from a bathroom on the golf course to this building, to the district office, to structures, housing areas for our wells and that type of stuff. In the next 5 years, because we have 2 premier golf courses and because the support to those golf courses, there will be a replacement of the golf cart fleet. That really times out based on battery life of the golf carts. So if that battery life improves over the years with technology, we can get more life out of them. But right now, that's in the 3 to 5 year window of life. I'm a fan of owning them, but I'll present those courses of action to the board when we talk about that. We don't like the rent stuff. That's just, someone else is in charge. We own the current fleet. So in the next 5 years, we'll be coming to the board with, we need to swap out our fleet. And since we own them, we can either use them as a trade-in value or just sell them on the open market and get a couple grand for each one. And then just based on lifespan of district vehicles, we have, when you count mowers and you count utility trucks, there's over 300 pieces of equipment the district owns, and probably more than that actually. That's just out of necessity. We live with that in our homes. You got to replace your mower at some time. For either a vehicle that we're using or a mower, in case mowers burn out a lot quicker, we're swapping out 25% of our fleet. Any questions on the 1 to 5 years?
Additional 4 micro mini parks. What is that?
So in discussions we've been having with residents and how we expand our recreation footprint, we're doing a lot here and we don't have more space here. Some of these other areas have been asking what's the desire or the ability if a district-owned parcel, and we own parcels in all those areas as well as others, if a district-owned parcel could be turned into for that region, Manor Hill, ABC Streets, that we turn it into basically green space. We put a bench, we put a dog station for dog walks. It's maintained by the district, so we own that support, but it provides those local areas a more proximity space for green space, not having to schlep all the way down here. So it's just an initiative But of course, before we go down that road, there'll be some costs that I'll bring to you guys. There'll be a resident survey if there's even an appetite. The appetite now may go away in a year or two. But all those areas specifically have asked, in your lots that you own, Sun and Lake, would you be interested in doing something like that? We would be, because it helps me spread out our amenities instead of everything right here.
So you're not talking a park with a
No, ma'am.
with
It'd be the
swimming
size of
pool
a
and-
house lot. That's all we
Okay.
own. And it would just truly be green space that no one could ever build
So
on.
it's green space.
And we would throw in a bench or two for people to walk locally. That's all we would do. Yeah.
Okay.
And these are employee initiatives, right? I mean, this hasn't been talked,
No. These
No.
are, well, not employee initiatives. These came out in our strategic plans with our
well,
residents.
yeah, but through you.
Oh, yes, sir. Yes,
Okay.
sir. Yeah, none of that has been directed by the board.
Okay.
Yep. Okay. And then we go 5 to 10 years, same stuff. So I won't cover the same things I talked. In this window of time, we actually will be the first time in a while that the district has real debt because we'll have a wastewater plant. Our plan is to again, reduce that debt and be responsible people. And we will take care of 30% of that debt in that same time frame. And this is just paying back what we borrowed for the wastewater plant. And that's in that 10-year window. We will also continue to see growth in staff, continue to see growth in the residents, the district. We should be getting closer to the 18,000 mark at that point in time in 10 years with more new homes and so on. This will be actually the time frame that I'd be coming to you and saying the district footprint of services and the building we're going to have to think about. Right now we're busting at the seams. We get to this point and I've just added this many plus, 3 or 4 the year before. We're going to think, is this the time that we have a satellite district office where you pay your utility bills? Is this the time where the building is refurbished totally? So that'll be a discussion we'll have. We'll hear now in this time frame, all the bonds should be gone at this time. And that's a combination of us expediting that with the bondholder, right now Auckland, or us getting to a position where we can do a fifth, third, and just buy them out in this time frame. And that's in the $10 million range in this window. That's a lot of money, but that's a stranglehold on a lot of our parcels and residents that we just need to get out of the bond business, the way it's structured there. So we'll be having those discussions. Because of the new wastewater plant, this is where we'll be actively pushing out reclaimed water so we get rid of all these wells. And these are individual wells on parcels as well as the district wells that we use for irrigation. We'll be using reclaimed water from our new plant that we will pipe through lines and get those out to neighborhoods. And then you're using reclaimed water. You're not having to set up a well, maintain a well. And the reality of that is the state of Florida is getting very restrictive and will continue to be on well permits as well as septic permits. If you try to build anything now in Sun and Lake as well as in the Highlands County, there's a whole new standard on septic tanks. They're getting away from what we think of septic tanks. And that is very cost prohibitive. It's going to get cost prohibitive, and it's going to be a pain to deal with for people that septic systems blow out and they have to get a replacement. So we need to get ahead of that when we get the system online, we get the connectivity and so on. I don't see nothing in there. New roads we have a lot of roads that are on our map that are just lines on a map. And if we're adding this many residents, those new roads are going to have to be built out, and that's planned for here. So that's 2 miles of new roads, and these are actual asphalted roads. A preparation of that is we're doing the shell roads to get out to some accessible areas for people that have land out past Cortez. Then they can build, and then that's eventually replaced with an asphalt road. But the good thing about a shell road is that they change assessment categories. They pay more for district services. They have access to their house, and then we can get that asphalted in a timely manner. That's all I have on this one. And then I'll just take it out to 15 because that's a realistic. 30 is a little bit pie in the sky. Shell roads continue. We'll be here close to 20,000 residents at this point in time, 15 years from now. That's a very generous calculation. Continue on roads, continue on growth, continue on expenditures. We should be knocking down a lot of our debt in this time frame. The wastewater plant pretty much will be paid off. It's a $60 some odd million loan. I say reduce debt by 65 because there's still some other debt in there that we're going to have to incur over time. But that'll be decisions of boards moving forward. But we'll be knocking down some debt. We'll continue to do the district upgrades, and then same thing with your golf cart fleet as well as district vehicles. Very one over the world, major initiatives, but these are the initiatives we need to help plan appropriately to bring budgets to y'all. Budget guidance that was issued so far is staff got the product that's in your hand, the GM's guidance. We gave them a directive that across all departments, there's no more than a 2% cost increase. If they bring to me more than 2%, then we'll have a discussion of why, what's the necessity. And then I'll either whittle that down or bring to you that they've busted the 2% guidance, but this is why. Cost of living / merit increases, that's the numbers we're working with now at 5% total, but then we can play with that. And that's just tied to the cost of living that the feds and Social Security is planning for, so we kind of mirror that number. We're in year 3 of our mandated 5.3% utility increase. So in 2 more years, once we approve this is automatic, so we don't have a discussion on this one. It's an automatic. In 2 more years, we'll be bringing to the board. The state requires us to reevaluate our utility to see if we're charging either too much or too little. They provide guidance of this is the max. You can either go up or you have to come down. So in 2 years, the board will make a new determination if there's a mandatory increase or we just do that every year. The preference by the state, preference by the utility is you set it for a period of time so they can budget accordingly for large scale replacement projects. Pending assessment increase discussion, just for your knowledge, every 1% of increase is roughly $50,000 of generated revenue. So you guys can do the math. You want to go 5%, it's $250,000, and then we can use that for either initiatives, reserves, or projects or so on. If you go 1%, then it's 50 grand, and it is what it is. Golf membership and public play, we didn't do anything last year. We did adjust public play with a dynamic pricing model, and that's been pretty decent on the revenue side. But because we didn't touch membership, we're definitely going to be having that discussion. And it's really, if you look at the numbers, it's not based on we're going anything extravagant on our golf courses or our restaurant. It's truly, this budget is in the window of the state mandate to get to $15 by September of next year. So whatever we approve this budget, we have to make sure that we meet the right gaps to pay our folks, our minimum wage folks, at least 15. And my 2 biggest categories are my golf maintenance folks and my restaurant folks. And I have very few part-timers that are in that category in the district. The total cost of that bill is about $700,000 if we did it overnight. Since those are focused on the golf side, then there's a golf contribution that has to happen, because if I didn't need that many greenskeepers and didn't need that many clubhouse folks and cart barn people and whatnot, then obviously we wouldn't have a massive bill. So that's where I'm leaning towards. Any increase in the golf membership as well as public play, an equivalent increase, would generate about $250,000 towards that payroll, and that'd be helpful for us. And then the 3 critical, 2 more so than 1, that's why they're on the 3rd. Accounts clerk, we're at a point, we're still trying to wean off Infomark. We're at a point that an accounts clerk, accounts payable clerk, we get them operational, then that's one more thing Infomark doesn't do for us that Coral's team does. And then we're having a discussion next budget that do we keep Infomark for the accountant or don't we need them anymore? We'll have that discussion. But that is one critical piece that we don't own right now that we need to get back in-house. Rec manager is a no-brainer. We're having so much expansion in our recreation community here. We'll have a new pool. We'll have some more areas, green space areas, that I can't just have a bunch of worker bees reporting straight to a director. There needs to be a manager like we have other managers in areas like that. And then media specialists is just the best news that we have in our district is that at least in 2 years now, because of social media platforms, how we're getting message out to our community, participation in events, that is becoming a challenge for the team because we don't have anybody that does it. It really becomes a sideshow. Hey, when you get a chance, post something online, that type of stuff. And that's very haphazard. That's not professional. So to help with that, what we have is Bernardo that's focused on the products, photographs, being at the meetings, but we're needing that level of expertise where we can market appropriately. And that's for everything Sun and Lake, not just the district. That's for our golf course. That's for our restaurant. That's for all our pickleball events, that type of stuff. We need to get our bandwidth out there to proper marketing to bring in the revenue. So that's a position that we would look at in this budget cycle. So that's the guidance that went out. That's where I'm asking for some clarity from you all. Our timeline right now is, as you see, we're doing this. We're getting guidance in May. We'll start showing you budget numbers. In June timeframe, we have to approve the assessments to meet the timeline to get them on the tax bill with the tax collector. So June is kind of when we approve them. So at that time, we're going to at least lock in where you want the assessments to either go, increase, decrease, whatever. So we need that. But the budget process continues. And then we'll get into the August timeframe. We have all the way until September to finalize the budget. And we basically do that at the September board meeting. Obviously, internally, you guys can add as many other additional meetings as needed. There's public meetings built into that. You see August 5th, there's a citizen budget open session where they comment on the numbers and we take it from there. Most of this is just for information purposes. So there was a question asked, where is inflation going to impact us? How's inflation impact us? Straight from the federal website, just for your information purposes. It tracks the inflation and the cost of living for many years. And you see a big increase. We all lived through it 2 years ago. Now it's down to the 2+% range into 3%. So it's kind of leveling, and we foresee it going a little bit lower. So we need that part of this discussion because that drives the COLA and other cost increases for projects and so on. So same thing here on the board. Yep, or timeline. Okay, we'll talk some very generic numbers. So this is the one pager that starts our budget. You see historical, 5 years to the left there. You see what we budgeted for 2024, 2025. That's that column right under the word budget, adopted budget. That's what we budgeted for last October 1st. You see to the right of that is to date, not say to date, 5 months into this budget year, that's the actual numbers from our treasurer's report. You see them every month. So you see we're on a pretty good glide path across the departments, across the revenue spectrum. We budgeted $14 million in revenue, 14.9, and to February, we didn't count March yet. At the end of February, we already generated $11.9 million in revenue. There's a lot more revenue being generated because we're being aggressive on past due bills. We're being aggressive on grants. We're getting the insurance folks to pay us and that type of stuff, state to pay us, the county to pay us. So we're generating a lot more. It's not based on any taxes. It's based on being aggressive across the department. So I'm very comfortable that we'll end the year in the positive when it comes to revenue. You see our expenses down there. It gives you an idea of what we're spending so we can make the right decisions. In green is a very initial swag at what the departmental budgets are looking like. Don't put a lot into that because we're still refining them at department level. So that's for discussion. And then we'll also come September, we'll show you what we expect for next year to get you in the ballpark of future discussion. The only thing green or blue I'll highlight is that we're a living and breathing staff here. We're identifying gaps. We're identifying better efficiencies. So in this next budget cycle, rather than nest information technology under the general manager, it's a whole separate department. So Cam and his team are pulled out. We did the same for custodial. We built a department of 3 people that run the show. We put them under operations. They're not just hidden in the numbers anymore. So it kind of skews some numbers. I'll better explain that as we get closer in, because a lot of that numbers were hidden in a different budget line last year. But we pull it out so now we can track it appropriately. So there won't be a lot of history. You see it grayed out. Won't be a lot of history on that. We'll just show you what we spent on custodial and IT this year. Okay. This page is focused strictly on revenue generation. So same way we do the other page shows you departmental budgets, expenditures. This one sticks to what we think right now. This is also a living document here. What we think right now across all our revenue streams that will look like in green for next year. In yellow is what we've generated to date, February. Again, gives you a snapshot in time. Green is what we're looking at. So holistically, we're looking at that next year. We should be shooting close to 16.1 million in revenue across all our entities. And last year's budget, we were at 14.9. Obviously, a little uptick in utility, a little uptick in golf, and more so in other categories. There is a larger uptick in assessments, but not tied to an increase. That's tied to we've had a lot of buildings. We had a lot more people paying the $800,000 a month. So that's what's throwing that. You guys approve an uptick in assessments, then there's a little bit more generated there. So overall, there's about an 8% increase in revenue from last year. And that's obviously, as we get closer to budget approval, we'll refine those numbers. And then our capital projects, if you see them in blue, or correction, in red, those are capital projects that were actually approved and either executed or in the process of being executed. The ones in black, we're still either waiting on an RFP, waiting for a bid, that type of stuff. They're going to get executed, or I'll be coming to you and saying, can I roll them into 2026? They're still all valid projects. So 2026, the second column there is what we expect for next year right now. Again, I'm still waiting on the departments to get me their final projects as well as numbers, and then we'll refine that. At the very bottom, there will always be, because we're good custodians of the checkbook, there will always be a transfer of funds into our reserves to keep replenishing that bucket. That there's always money there saved, making good interest, rather than just kept up in the checkbook. So you'll see that at the bottom, and that ends up being close to $400,000. But right now, about 1.5 million in capital projects across all our entities, from utility lines to roads to everything like that. Again, these are all controlled. You guys tell us what you want to do, what you don't want to do, what you want to push to the right. Very simply for our audience here, you guys know this. The top is how we in the district have done budgets before, and a lot of entities do it. Line item. I give you the spreadsheet, and you guys at your leisure or staff, we start talking line by line. That's an interesting way to do it, I call it. It's not really the best way to do it. There's a top down. District did that for many years, where the GM in his office cranked out a budget, didn't talk to any of these folks, and they gave it to you. That's not really a good way to do it either. And then there's zero-based budget, which we don't do at all. I'm not a big fan of. You basically start at zero at the end of the year. It's really an unrealistic way. And then you start throwing numbers at it. A lot of communities are trying to do that, but they're finding it's really already pre-cooked. We know how much we spend on X, so that's the numbers already pre-populated. So it's not really a true zero-based budget. At the bottom is what we kind of do. We do it based on your guidance, value-based, bottom-up, fed by departments, capital budgeting on a project, and then we figure out the money we need. So we pick a host of the ones at the bottom and build you a product that I finally look at, I vet, I'm comfortable with, it speaks for the staff, and then I bring to you all for either guidance, adjustments, or whatnot. So then we're having a one-on-one discussion rather than you having to pick out a department and take them to town, because that's already been pre-done at my level. You're more than welcome to do that, but that's already pre-done. This is just more of an academic review here. Best budget guidances, like we've found for the at least past 2 years, is issue guidance. I need to hear something from y'all, pet project, consensus, or whatnot, and then we can move on. Make sure that you're in agreement with our mission, values, and goals. Because if you're not, then I'm planning one way, and you're like, well, we don't want to be a recreation community anymore. Well, my guys are planning that way, and so on. This is where I beat the staff up a lot. I don't need them to fluff their budgets. I don't need them to say, hey, we spent $100,000 this year. Just put in 10% more. We've all lived in those environments. That's taking the easy out. So those discussions I'm having with them, they really have to argue. If there's an increase, they have to argue for it, explain it, validate it, and then it may be increased. In many cases, the guidance is set. There's 2%. That's all I'm giving you, because I'm looking at cost of living and everything. So we'll find that happy medium. So that takes some time, because like many places, budgets were just increased automatically with no validity of why the increase was there. We're trying to rein that in and get them more, that when I say we need 14.9 million, we need 14.9 million. And you should have confidence that that number has been vetted by the team. the self-explanatory on that. We change, you guys change. So I'm hoping we pick projects, we fund projects and so on that are for the good of the group, good of the district and so on. And we have to make sure what we're saying is sustainable. And I'm not saying, Greenpeace type sustainable, environmental friendly sustainable. We'll do that too. I'm talking about when we start saying, I want to hire X amount of people, I give you the true cost of that when it comes to medical care, Social Security, all that stuff, because this guy I hire for 50 grand really costs the district 90 grand.
Correct.
You guys need to know that. And it's all on paper for them to know that, because that does not happen in many organizations. And we live the repercussions of that. We just had a discussion this week. Our payroll budget tied to our total budget is in the 32% range. That's good government. That's a good government.
Standard, yeah.
The standard is 25 to 30,
Yeah.
so we're good. God love my peers around me. Sebring is over 60%. Unsustainable. 60% of their budget goes straight to paying people. Great for them people. They got good jobs, but that is an unsustainable model. Same with the county. Over 70% goes to payroll. Nothing to do with services. We provide services as government. We're not a jobs program. So that's the way I look at it. I think that's the way y'all look at it. And my job is to bring that efficiency in there. Sir.
Just to interrupt you,
Yep,
does that
yep.
come specifically from you all? Because I remember
What do you mean from you
my
all?
first year on the board in 2016, 2017, we had a conversation with the general manager to cut pay. I mean, what you're saying is a 2%, no more than 2.
Sure.
That came from the supervisors. We said, no,
Sure.
we want to stop it. I mean, does that come from you or does that come from us?
So when I put out the GM's budget guidance, I've looked at all the numbers, I put that out, but that goes to guidance for y'all.
Okay.
You guys had it now for a week or a month and a half. If you guys are comfortable with the numbers as you see it pan out, fine. If you guys say, hey, it's hard times, we need to spend more so we don't lose anything or less, I'm not going to take personal ownership of it. You just tell us what you want to do, and I'll make that happen.
Well, I don't
from me,
specifically
sir.
think it's bad times
That comes
now.
from me,
I
yeah.
think we're in good times, but
Sure, yeah, yeah.
I just wondered where that came from.
Yes,
So,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
thank you.
We always seek efficiencies. We find new technology. We try to get the best. There's a little bit of upfront cost with that, but over time, it'll benefit our district. We try to keep it simple, very transparent. All our documents are on our website. Citizens we chat about, citizens are here. We'll have citizen sessions and so on. And where I say frequent reviews, we are as best as we can every month. You're seeing how the numbers roll out. Every quarter, we're giving you an analysis of the budget. I think we're doing, trust me, when it comes to other government, we're doing a lot to lay out how transparent we are on our expenses and on our costs. And we'll continue to do that because that's just good organization for staff. All right. We talked the timeline. I won't belabor that. And we talked this. So other than that, it's now, I mean, this is the chart, the simple chart that will feed this product as time goes on. This was adjusted as of the budget amendment we did, and we're going to do another budget amendment, not next month, but the month after. There'll be one more this year, but kind of just simplistically shows you the money. So I'm very comfortable that we're going to end this year, when you count our reserves, count our checkbooks, we're going to end this year with that $9.2 million. That's not spent or appropriated or budgeted, allocated. And that's with the budget amendment. So that's good. That'll roll into, like, it just starts the cycle again. That'll roll into the end of the year. We'll pull out amount that's for our savings and redo the whole cycle. So comfortable in there. We're doing good across all the departments, doing good on revenue collection. We're bringing in about 1.4 million a year in the wastewater through our utility. People are taking more of that option to pay the $15 a month, which is great. What we're still, because we just closed the books on that, and Cora will give me the numbers, we'll see how many people are using the 180 model, paying it in full model, because they just had to pay their bills, but they still have until September to pay that. So that's a little bit harder to gauge. But it's going to end up being, like we planned, a little over $2 million a year being collected just for the wastewater plant. That's going straight into our reserves. And just that $2 million is generating 50, 70 grand a year in interest.
Mhm.
So we're making money on that. So we'll continue to do that. So I'm very comfortable with that process as it rolls out. we're not even talking about the loan and how that money, once we get that injected, we'll be able to get some interest on that when it's sitting in the bank accounts until we pay stuff for stuff. So I'm good on that. A lot of information. Sorry, I talked a lot, but now the ball's in y'all's court for any discussion you want to have and guidance you want to get.
I have,
Yes, ma'am.
2 citizens came to me. Are we going to have a summer membership?
Summer golf membership.
Summer
We are-
golf
Yeah,
membership.
so we are reviewing memberships. As we mentioned last year, we're reviewing the categories. I can't tell you right now, Summer, yes, no? We got one, yeah.
From May 1st?
Yeah.
Starting May 1st?
Mhm.
When are the applications going to go out? Can they come in? I mean, we're April 22nd.
So it sounds like you're not hearing it being marketed well.
I haven't heard a thing about it.
All
They're
right,
coming
let's
to
take
me and
care of that.
saying.
Okay, let's take care of that.
And the second one is the tortoises, which is my pet project.
Yes, ma'am. So, and that's a good one.
Since I have an active nest right across from my street,
got you.
yes, it is.
Yeah, so what we are now, and Garrett's going to get involved with his environmental. What the interesting thing, I got 2 state agencies, Scrub Jay and Tortoises, that are bickering about our use of that land. To answer that, we redid a survey of the tortoise land and by an environmental third party, and they proved to the state agency there's no more Scrub Jay there. That's why we want to transition it to tortoises.
Right.
So now that it's in the discussion between the 2 state agency lawyers and our lawyer to fix that. That's why you haven't seen my equipment up there, because we're kind of in a tactical pause right now.
Okay.
I think at the end of the day, since we're not building, we're going to just make it a conservation of one type of an endangered animal. I think common sense will prevail. I just got 2 very bloated bureaucratic agencies that are just pissing on each other. So we're going to push
I
it.
have a live tortoise across my street and it's on satellite.
Sure.
So there is a necessity. I
Oh,
mean,
yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. We're pushing it. It's just these discussions are happening in Tallahassee, and we got to get Garrett
Okay.
more involved. Yeah,
just so we're
Yeah.
working on it.
we're working it. Yes, ma'am.
And I can say yes to the summer membership?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll leave it up to the president how you want to handle discussion or open discussion or guidance or whatnot.
I'd like to start with this. After we're done, is there any public comment on what we just talked about? I guess not. Then I guess we'll go to the supervisors if the guy on any projects you want to talk about or anything right now.
I'd like to talk about pricing for the Racket Club to be reviewed and looked at to make it consistent and competitive. Sorry about that. I'd like the Racket Club pricing models to be looked at for consistency and competitiveness against other clubs in the area. I think one item ought to be considered is a snowbird rate like we do with golf. Right now it's $50 a month. Most snowbirds are down here 4 or 5 months. Using that model, they've paid for the whole year already. It doesn't seem like a fair equity. The other thing I would consider is resident usage of the Racket Club. Go back to the model where we had a cost. I think residents have come to me. None of the residents that I know that play, they all appreciate free, of course, but none of them hated the model where we had a nominal fee for court usage. We all feel like we take more skin in the game with the care of the courts. So I'd like that would be considered, see what that would look like in your modeling.
All right.
And this we will, because I tell you the truth, I don't know much at all about the Racket Club and the pricing and that, and we'll discuss that
Sure.
when it gets to it.
We produce the fee schedule for everything, part of budget. You guys approve it at the final budget. So that'll be discussed. Yes, sir. Yep.
Okay. Anybody else?
The budget you're looking at, it says under 3%. Are we looking at 2.5? We're looking at 2%?
You talk for COLA, sir?
Right.
I would like it just mirror exactly what the feds approved, and I think that's 2.4.
For
Yeah. Yes, sir. Yeah, that was just a cap before that number came out. Yeah.
Anybody else?
In capital of 2026, we have course or aeration for 36 holes. Why isn't that under operation? Just our regular operation.
And it could migrate from a project to operation expense. Yes, sir. I just wanted to show that we have an initiative on our greens or on our
But
courses.
I guess how is it any different than what we've been doing?
We usually don't spend that much on, like a drill and fill is costing that much. We found success with that this year. So it's more the number rather than just a regular course maintenance, which is usually $10,000-$15,000. As Jimmy and them produce their operational budget, that could just be nested in there, and it's not a capital project. Yes, sir.
Okay. The other thing, with the amount of homes being developed in areas that have what I would call the initial paving, I think we need to look at possibly increasing the amount of roads that we intend to do in the next few years to catch up with the deterioration that you see in those places that have the original streets. I mean, they fall apart. They're all falling apart. Once they start getting more travel on them, then all the rocks free up and just start washing off the road.
Sure.
And so I think we need to look at that.
Anybody else?
We also talked about putting together a golf budget. Have we ever done that?
Part of this discussion under our reserves, there'll be a golf reserve budget peeled away from recreation. Yes. I want to be able to do that to show how we invest in there.
That's good.
So that we haven't done that officially. It'll be in this budget. Yes, sir.
Would there be, excuse me, plenty of room, once we get into what we're taking out, what we want to add to, because I kind of agree with Supervisor Herrick. I mean, I don't want to get too specific yet because I don't know
Sure.
where we're going to cut, where we're not, but
Yes, sir.
I want to spend more money on roads, on lighting than what you have, even now in your preliminary thing. But I don't know where where we're going to cut from, and but we have room in there to add these or subtract from these.
Yes, sir. That's what we need. This is what
Okay.
we need this meeting for. So I know where to focus. So
And it just, I just don't know with the new budgets, the way they are now, is that we're doing stuff from another budget to do something else, and it's a major job, and it doesn't even come in front of us. And so I got to learn more about what's going on as far as how we function with this stuff. But I just want to be able to, once we get into cutting, I want to add, because I think, in my opinion, there's more important things for some things like streets and lighting and so on and so forth that I want to work on. So just so we have that flexibility
yes, sir.
later on.
Yep.
Okay.
No problem.
Again, is there any other public comment again from what's been said? Go ahead, Mark.
Mark Camp, resident. I just have a quick question, and it's, I can put my glasses on. It's on one of your charts in here, and it says special infrastructure assessment, and then it talks about $2,700 per parcel infrastructure assessment. And I'm just trying to understand if that's over a course of a period of time. What does that pertain to? And it's early on in maybe your
Is it in the
fifth or sixth
strategic?
page, where it talks about from 24 through 33, 2033.
Yes, sir. So that was the wastewater assessment.
Okay, so that's the 27.
That's all it was. It just shows that per parcel 2,700. Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Yep.
Does it have to, I like to say something, but does it have to pertain to what we just talked about? It's like, should have stood up further.
No, I think
Come on up there, sir.
you can just get up and
Yep.
My name is Mike Barney. I've only been to about 4 meetings, but it seems like every time I come here, I end up getting here and saying something. I'll keep it short as possible. I've got two residents here in Sun and Lakes, one at 3700 Surya. The other one I just bought at 6510 Sun and Lakes. I bought it in 23 in June. I met my neighbor. He opened up his garage door. It was full of sandbags. And I said, why do you have the sandbags? He said, Mike, out front here, this all backs up. I live at 6510, and put that in perspective, it's right across the street from the Hornick homes. I live in the last Hornick duplex on it'd be the north side of Sun and Lake. Okay? I'm the last unit of there's two Hornick homes on the north side. And Cashaw's next to me. He said in the summertime, we get about 2 foot of water out in front of the house, these ditches. And so anyway, I had him go out and take a picture. I'm a snowbird, so I'm not here. Even though I've been down here since 2012, never paid attention to it. So anyway, I'm trying to keep this as short as possible. After him sending me pictures and sending everything, in 23, that December or January, I came into I called a guy I know here who's still working here, who I respect a lot, and another guy that's no longer here. I had pictures, and also I had a letter that I had, since I looked at that, what was going on. I'm a retired pipe fitter, 50 years last year. Well, what happened was when I got to looking at it, this was back, a lot of the homes going farther west to Cortez were being put in. They're bringing sand in and not even putting any, what have I done?
You're right.
Anyway, you probably hear me anyway. I don't need a damn thing. Anyway, they had put they had put sand in without even putting the drain in. You know, I can't believe that this is going on, you know. So anyway, I made reference to all the addresses, which I don't have in front of me, and everything, and I presented to these two guys I talked to and asked them, what can we do? And I was guaranteed that one storm back when we had 15 inches of rain. And I can promise you, Mike, it never went over the sidewalk towards you. And I said, well, what did you get? What if you got 10 inches of rain the next day? He said, well, that never happened. So anyway, Boz was on, I seen him on social media, it just popped up. I was in my golf cart going somewhere, stopped for a minute, and there he is. Well, he said, if you ever need anything, no matter what, come see me. Well, fast forward 2 years, I couldn't help myself. I went in there and I had these same pictures. I didn't have the letter, but I had these same pictures. And it was over 300 yards of water, 2 foot deep. Only thing I did notice was only thing I did notice from where I am back towards the golf course, that ditch line there's always big ruts. Well, wonder why. It never dries out. So where I'm at to the west of me, one house, there's no culvert underneath the driveway. The next house, there's no culvert. So what happens is the water gets full going back to the east, cascades up high enough that once it gets up high enough, it goes over the driveway. Finally. But now you got 2 foot of water, 300 yards. So after talking to Mr. Boss, I'm telling you what, I looked out there. There was a guy out there, and he had Paulson Engineering with him. This guy from Paulson said that there's a drain here, a storm drain, an open site storm drain. I got a 16-inch drain underneath my driveway. So's the other Hornick home. He dug it out, found a broken pipe, but he also found an open site storm drain that's been there all along. It was all covered up. Now, my question was, because I also was told there was a drain going into my lake. I seen the storm drain cover. I went over to Hornick and I seen that they actually had storm drains in their road. That water's got to be going somewhere. I thought it was going to 16. That's what I thought. I thought that's going to 16. Well, as it turns out, it's going both places, according to Polson Engineering. The problem I had was my drain pipe in the lake, the water table, it's already full. So I asked the guy from Polston, and he said, it goes both places. But I'm going to recommend that we fix this pipe, make sure this stays open here, the storm drain grate itself. I personally will take care of that. I went out there, they couldn't even find the drain. Nobody could, not that nobody could find it, but I paid a guy $1,000 to clear out all that out there. Then I went out there, got waders myself, cleaned everything out. I found it. But what I'm getting at is kudos to Boz for taking care of that. I mean, and getting somebody on it. Anyway, Paulston was going to recommend that they come in and put 2 drain lines, storm drains, underneath those 2 driveways. And that's huge. I'm being a retired pipe fitter. I know that stormwater, it's got to move, and it's got to be going the right direction, or you're going to have problems. Anyway, I'm not complaining. I paid my assessment on both properties in full. I believe in Sun and Lakes. I like everything. We love it here, so, I'm not complaining. I'm just wanting to say, actually, I'm trying to say thank you. It may not sound like it, but anyway.
It came out.
And what that you don't notice in there, there's $300,000 a year for swale improvements. So that'll be in your capital line item. That's not on that document. We put that in operational. And to that project there, while Polson is not the decision maker, that's already been approved. It's about a $30,000 fix that we're going to do and fix that directly related to when the county owned Sun and Lake. Stuff like that was happening without us being aware. That's been fixed now.
Yeah,
But it's fixed now. We're good.
I was going to ask that. I thought it.
We're good now.
Okay. Okay. Well, thank you, and I hope it gets, stuff like that gets done. Any other public comment? Is there any discussion to and from the board?
I'd just like to ask a question to follow up that. The other 2 driveways that don't have, was that a county not doing their job correctly
County
issue?
permitting. Yeah. We're going to take care of that.
Okay,
We're going to have to just cut their driveways, put a pipe in properly.
but there's no redress for us from the county.
So we would spend more time in court than it's worth. Let's just fix the,
But we
fix it.
did require them the farther west is the same.
When we
ones
catch it,
we
yes, sir.
caught
No,
them.
you're exactly right.
Yeah, because they were
Th-
doing
These
the
were
same,
built,
they were doing the same thing.
Yeah.
And it would have been even worse. He would have had 6 feet of water.
Yeah.
Because it was ridiculous.
So does that give you any lack of confidence in Hornick at all?
no, it was just that was the county rules at the time and, yeah.
Okay.
Now, I'm not tied to the pre-construction, tied to the building permit of the site prep, that's all.
Sun and Lake's credit, what they did was they put a hold on the permits once they put that
Yep.
sand out without the pipe.
Yep.
Sun and Lake took the initiative to stop all process from going forward. So that was.
Yeah. And perfect example, what you see on Frontage Road, that big area they're cleared out.
Yeah.
So we issue a land clearing permit. We also require they got to do X, Y, and Z county, Florida, Southwest Florida rural water permit. They didn't do any of that. So they cleared that land without any of those other things, other than our permit. And once we found that, because when I drive by there, I see it's not properly draining, it's the wrong type of silt fencing, we just put a stop on that. We call the builder and say, cease work, don't do it anymore. Come to us with all these other permits. When we're aware of it, we'll fix it. It says, I need to be aware of it. So to any of you all, just make us aware of it.
Anybody else? Anything? Okay, we'll call this meeting adjourned. No.